Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Kickin' Bass TV. Today's video, we're gonna be showing you guys a couple of quick fixes for some broken lures, as well as a couple of ways to repurpose and repair some of your old soft plastic. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below and stay tuned. Alright guys, today we're going to look at lures that we've either found at various lakes or that have broken over time, how you can fix them, reuse them, instead of throwing them away. Start out, we got a couple of spinnerbaits, one of which we found at a local lake. As you can see, the hook is rusted and it's missing both the blade and the swivel. This other one is in not as bad condition. The hook's in good shape, it still has a swivel intact, so basically all you need to do is add a blade to this and it's usable again. And since they both had salvageable skirts on them, and we had a buzzbait that was missing a skirt, we decided to just swap some of them around so we could make 2 usable baits out of 3 baits that were just sitting around broken. So essentially all you're gonna do is grab the skirt by the band here or collar piece and pull it off the back hook side of your wire bait. Set that aside. What you'll be left with is your skirt material here on the left, and then on the right what I have is a band or skirt collar, which is used to hold the bands into place. And even though this second spin bait was in pretty good overall condition and all we needed to do was add a blade to it and we could have thrown it as is, since there was yellow in the skirt material and it was a close color match for the chartreuse of the body of that buzz bait, what we did was we took the skirt off of this one as well, and then we just separated the yellow material from the black material. From that point, we cut about 1/3 of the length off of the yellow skirt so that it would be the right length in proportion to the size of the buzz bait. And then we just took those bands, fed them back through that skirt collar, and from that point, we can go ahead and reattach our spin bait or buzz bait, whichever one. Now, once you've got these bands centered with the collar piece in the middle, all you're gonna do is you're gonna take the hook end of your wire bait, lightly push this through the center here, making sure that you don't snag that. And once you push that collar over the lip of your bait, and just spread these bands out evenly around the body so that that band's nice and tight. Just like that, you got a usable bait again. After that, we didn't have quite enough material left to make a full skirt for the other spin bait, so we just took half of the red skirt material from the first one, combined it here, and it's a great color combination. So this time we're gonna show you how to fix it with fishing line in the event that you lose or break your band collar, which is the piece that holds these bands in place. So if you do lose that, it's the only spin bait you have, maybe you're in the middle of fishing, you don't wanna leave, real easy fix. Grab a piece of fishing line, tie that thing super tight around this body, and you're good to go. From that point, just clipped off the tag ends here, and the only thing we had left to do was add a blade to this one, and we were gonna have a usable spin bait again. As far as blades, we had a few different options to choose from, but I decided to go with this larger Colorado blade here because it's not only gonna give me that thump and that flash in the water that I want, but it's also gonna allow me to work this bait a little slower than I typically do, especially with these lower water temps. And because it's right in size with the length of where the hook ends and doesn't extend past it, I won't have to add a trailer. At any rate, since the swivel was still intact on this one and we had now replaced the bands and fixed the skirt, all we had to do was add this blade, and just like that, we were able to salvage 2 out of the 3 wire baits that we started with today. And all we had to do so was take a couple of components from that broken red one. Next up, we got this red lipless crankbait that got stuck in some rocks. As you can see, the rear hook bent out and the front hook and split ring are both missing. But aside from that and a couple of scratches on the body, it's still totally usable bait. No reason you can't fix it up and still catch some fish with it. So we took one of our stock treble hooks that we had removed from an old crankbait that we had upgraded, and we put that on the back. And on the front, we took one of our red Gomagatsus. As you know, I like to use those up front because it gives the bass something to key in on, increases the hookup ratio. At any rate, we found a medium-sized split ring that was pretty close, if not the exact size as the one from the hook in the back, which is important because if they don't match and one of your hooks extends farther than the other, they can tend to handcuff each other and create a problem. So we attached that red hook to the front, replaced the bent out hook on the back, and just like that, we were able to salvage another lure. Next up, we got this square bill crankbait that part of the lip had broken off of, and this was a lot easier fix than you would think. All that we did was we took a straight blade knife, we scored it on the top and the bottom of the lip, right in line with that break point. From there, all we had to do was take a pair of pliers and it snapped off nice and clean. Now, since it broke off clean and created a nice straight edge for us for the most part, all we had to do from there was take a little bit of sandpaper, clean it up on the top and the bottom of the lip so that that edge is nice and smooth. And just like that, we were able to salvage another broken lure. So this one's not going to dive as deep as it originally could in that 5 to 6 foot range, being that we cut half of the lip off, but still totally usable for shallow cranking, especially smallmouth in the river, which I can't wait to get out and try myself. And when it comes to soft plastics, one of my favorite things to throw is a Texas rig crawl. But after a couple of bass, you find that the tops of them tend to get gutted out and ripped up to where they'll no longer hold a hook. Quick, easy fix for this is to just take a torch lighter and little by little apply heat to it until it slowly starts to remelt and take its original form again. But you'll find that if you rush this process, you're not only going to burn your plastic, but it'll have a tendency to want to pull apart even farther as opposed to remelting. So the key to this is just taking your time. Give it a couple seconds between each heat up and you'll find that just like this one here, it'll remelt into that nice uniform body, just like it was when you bought it. As you can see here, we're stretching on it, pulling on it. It's not separating, so you can easily rig it up and catch another couple of bass. In the event that you have a tail that's just completely mangled like this one here and is more or less just beyond repair, you still don't have to throw this away. You can repurpose it. You're just going to take a pair of scissors, cut this bait in half or right at the point of damage, and essentially what you have now is a craw trailer. So we took a finesse jig, slid this chunk on there, and just like that we were able to not only salvage the plastic that we would have thrown away, but we created a nice fall jig profile that's great for catching bass this time of year. Last but not least, we got this vintage cotton Cordell Big O square bill, which was actually the first square bill that ever hit the market. We found it in its original packaging at the thrift store. We replaced the hooks with some new ones, and then we went out, hit the lake to see if we couldn't catch a couple of bass on some of these salvage lures. So right here, second cast out, working the entry point of this cove in the lake that we're at, and we had our first bass of the day on one of our salvage lures. Now this guy was only about 1.5 pounds, so not a huge bass by any means, but a good start. We'll take it, especially considering the point of the video was to see if we could catch fish on these salvage lures. So in that regard, at least so far, we've been successful. So we went ahead, released that guy, and then we headed over to another local body of water, tied on that Lipless crankbait that we fixed up to see if we could catch another bass on another salvage lure. This particular lake is a lot deeper, which means we've got more water column that we can cover, and that's why I like to use a Lipless here, because what's happening right now is you've got a lot of bass that are pulling to deeper water because of the lower temps, but you've still got a good majority of aggressively feeding bass that are in that mid to upper column. So with the Lipless, that allows you to work all areas of the water column until you do get hit, and then when you do, remember where you got hit at depth wise, and 9 times out of 10, that's where the bass in that particular lake, at least on that day, are going to be feeding. Sure enough, third or fourth cast out with the Lipless, and we had an absolute chunk on the line. This one weighed in at almost 4.5 pounds, which is a very decent sized bass for this lake. And it just goes to show you guys that if you're willing to put the time in to fix up some of those busted lures that you found at other lakes while you were fishing, or maybe you've had just sitting around for a while, instead of throwing them away, we were able to repurpose some of those, get out here and have a successful day on the water and catch a couple of decent sized bass. So that's going to do it for the video today, guys. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, because that's the best way to show your support. And as always, we'd love to hear from you guys, so don't hesitate to leave us a comment in the comment section down below. Until next time, guys, I'm D with Kickin' Bass TV.
Subscribe!